Hi everyone, and welcome back to Ascend's weekly webinar, Friday Forums. If this is your first time tuning in, these webinars run every Friday at 12 o'clock PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, and we cover a range of topics from the most commonly asked support questions to new features and handy tips and tricks to help you along your journey with Ascend. So please come along and don't forget your lunch. So today we'll be taking a dive into the new Ascend Insights dashboard. This new feature was released last week, so you may have already seen this within your Ascend home screen. The Insights reports are a collection of reports that are important for monitoring the financial health of your practice. This area includes a mixture of some standard Dentrix Ascend reports along with some power reports. Some of these you would have seen before, but there are a few new additions which I want to discuss with you. So these new additions include the production by provider type, pie chart, workflow compliance, treatment tracker, unscheduled treatment report, new patient by month, and that's displayed in a column chart. There's production trends and also an adjustment summary. So let's go ahead and take a look at each. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into Ascend. To access the Insights dashboard, you just want to begin by going to Home and then to Insights over here on the right hand side. Once we have jumped in there, you'll see the same screen that I had before, and this is where you'll be able to find all those reports that you'll want to be able to access. Now, you'll notice that the reports are grouped by various aspects of running a practice. So, for example, there's production and then schedule optimization. So this is so that you can easily identify which reports to generate based on the type of data that is desired. Now, each of the reports opens a new or updated version of a Power Report. Each report has been optimized to help you answer questions that typically get asked by consultants, accountants, or auditors about different aspects of your business. So we'll begin by taking a look at the production by provider type report. And that's over here just on the right hand side. Now, this particular report actually displays the information as a pie chart, so it's incredibly easy to read and digest. I'll just wait for this to load. Fantastic. So in case you haven't necessarily separated out the specialties, I'll walk you through where the setting is. But essentially, this particular report showcases the production for the past year. That's the default date range. You can, of course, change the date range as needed, but the default is set to 12 months. So it will showcase the production for the past year based on the specialty selected for each provider. So as you can sort of see here, that might be if they're a hygienist, a dentist, or in this case, we have actually a dental public health dentist. But whatever specialties you have at your particular practice is what's going to be displayed here. And you can see that if you hover over it, you'll get the specific information that's also out here on the outside of the pie chart. So if you haven't necessarily set up specialties, I'll walk you through where that location is. So you just want to jump to settings, and then you just want to go down to user accounts. So please do keep in mind that sometimes there are specific user rights required to access the user account setup. So if you don't have access to it, make sure you do check with your administrator. Otherwise, you do just jump in here and then you just want to select the specific provider that you want to change. So I have a provider here, and if we just click onto that user account, you then want to go over to the provider info tab. So I'll just click into there now, and this is where you'll want to change that specialty. So you can see here that this has been set to dentist. If you wanted to change that, you just click the drop down and choose which specialty you'd like them to have. And then of course, after you've changed that, you just want to go ahead and save. The next report I want to cover is the production trends report. So again, going to home and then into the insights tab. And this is over on the right hand side underneath the production heading, and that's just there, the production trend. So I'll click on that to open it up. Now, this report actually shows very similar information to the production by provider type that we just took a look at. Now, the thing to note is that this particular report is very useful when you look at it on a location basis. So as an example, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and just choose the one location. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose Growing Smiles here. And I'm just going to click this arrow, add selected, so it heads over to the right hand side. Now you'll notice that it's currently showing that these things are excluded. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change this drop down to included, and I'm just going to remove the not available spaces as well over back to the left hand side. So now it's just going to show the Growing Smiles practice, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK on that one to save it. Now, as you can see here, the report is a lot easier to visualize, and you can really get a great idea of the production trends of that particular location over the past 12 months. However, it shows it in a different way. So here you can actually see the charting here will allow you to specifically look at the trends of the production based on the provider type. So as an example, if you wanted to look at your dental public health dentist, for example, you can take a look at how their production has been tracking over the last 12 months. Again, that is the default date range, but can be changed as required. And you can look at this based on each specialty type. Of course, you can see here that is color coded. Now, the next report I'll touch on is the workflow compliance report, which is over here in the bottom right hand corner under the patients heading. So I'll just open that one up. Now, this particular report is useful in finding out how successful your reception staff have been in retrieving required details at the checkout stage of the patient journey. Now, what you want to do to run this report is just go ahead and select which locations you want to run it for. So I might actually run it for all locations. And then you just want to choose a particular date range that you're after. So I might actually go back a couple of months to take a bit of a look. So I might go back to maybe the start of February through to July, for example. And then I'm going to leave all users, and I will also have all of these checked for the appointment task. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit search. Now, with the workflow compliance report, it is important to note that you will only get statistics here if you have turned on the tracking. Now, I will go ahead and show you where the tracking is at the end, but I'll show you what this particular report can show you when you do have that turned on. Now you can see here that it's going to display the number of ReCare phone number, email payments that were completed successfully, as well as how many were failed compared with how many were required. Now, essentially what required means is if a patient doesn't have an email address entered, for example, under their patient information, that is, of course, something that you'll want to gather just so that you have another way to contact them, another way to send out ReCare reminders or appointment reminders as required. So if they are missing an email address or if they are missing a phone number, it's going to be sitting here under the required section. Now, of course, if your reception staff do make sure that they ask the customer that and they enter it in, that's when it's going to be succeeded. So it will give you the number and the percentage. Alternatively, if they didn't get that email address or phone number, then it will class that as failed. Specifically, it will have a little bit of a rundown based on which particular patient it was that this is related to for each contact type. So if it's the email, phone number, ReCare, whatever it may be. So back to the appointment tracking, we have received some feedback that many reception staff didn't quite understand this feature and as a result, have since turned it off. So if you are particularly interested in turning that back on, I'll show you where that is. So you just want to begin by heading up to settings up here, and then you just want to head down to location information here. So we'll go ahead and open that up. As you can see here, I've just got open the location information, and it's just this area down the bottom where it says track appointment tasks and require reasons for incomplete tasks. You do need to have that switched to yes. Now, next month we are going to be doing a whole webinar dedicated to this feature and why it's so important to the health of a practice. Consulting to practices, we have seen that tracking and targeting these workflow steps with the workflow report have a dramatic long-term effect on the number of patients you get back for follow-up appointments, which in turn leads to more revenue and, more importantly, better oral health outcomes. So again, stay tuned for that customer success webinar because this might be a really powerful way to improve your practice. Now, the next reports that I want to cover are the treatment tracker and the unscheduled treatment reports. These reports actually display similar information but in different ways, and both of them can be found here under the schedule optimization area in the insights overview. So it is a little bit similar to the production by provider type and the production trends that we took a look at before, in terms of the similar information being shown but in different ways, and ultimately can really be used for different situations in the practice as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start by taking a look at the treatment tracker report. Now, this report here is actually going to show any patients that have any outstanding treatment and whether or not they have had their appointment scheduled, as well as the provider and the amount for the treatment, of course. You can definitely use this report to be in contact with them and make sure you're booking them in for their treatment. Now, going back to the home overview, and then into the insights area, I'm actually just going to jump into the unscheduled treatment report this time to take a look at this, and I'll show you how this differs a little bit. Now, this is the report here. Now, this particular one shows similar information, however, it displays it in a pie chart. So it actually really gives you information at a glance, and you can see right away just how many of your treatments are unscheduled versus scheduled. You can see in my case that it looks like all of the planned treatment that I have at the moment is currently unscheduled. So that means I should be giving those patients a call to book them in for future appointments. This does get separated out per provider as well, so you can see that this is one provider here and this is the other provider here. So hovering over it, it is going to allow you to have a little bit of an overview of what the information is showing as well. So we can see it's just showing it's unscheduled and the amount that is presented as well. Now, another new addition is the new patients by month report. So that's just over here on the far right hand side. So I'm just going to click to open that. Now, this is a handy new report which shows an overview of the number of new patients on a month-by-month basis for all your locations. So you can see that each of your locations are separated out. So it's a very nice, easy way to be able to see all the new patient bookings at a glance. So for example, we can see here under the Growing Smiles practice that in the month of January, we had one new patient booking, for example. Nice and easy to see. You can hover over, of course, each of the columns to take a look at that same information as well. And what you can also do is you can actually double click on a particular day to get a little bit more of a breakdown as well and see on what particular days you actually had new patients booking in. So, for example, we can see that this is showing specifically the 16th of May, the 24th of May, 27th, 30th, and the 31st. Now, the final report that I want to show you is the adjustment summary report here. Now, as the name suggests, this particular report is going to give you a summary of all the adjustments completed for your selected date range. By default, it does bring up the previous 3 month period, but this can, of course, be changed by clicking the little pen icon here to edit that. You can see, however, that there are these new colored arrows, the green and the red. Now, this is essentially going to just be a nice visualization to allow you to easily see if it's a positive or a negative trend over time. Essentially, it's going to show you if it has been rising or falling. Now, along with the amount, it also does give you the count or the number of adjustments that have been completed for that particular adjustment type. It's also going to give you the average write-off here. Now, the average write-off is going to be the amount divided by the number of that adjustment type. So there were 6 FPOS refunds completed in the previous 3 months, and it came to a total of $1,675. So the average of that comes out to be $279.17. If you have any questions about the content that we've covered today or what you'd like to see in a future webinar, please do send us an email at ascend@softwareofexcellence.com. But for now, let's go ahead and dive into some questions. That brings us to the end of this week's Friday forum. This webinar, as well as past webinars, will be available in the Resource Centre, which you can access by going to Help and then Resource Centre directly from within Ascend. So do jump on there and take a look. As well as if you have any other questions at all, there are a lot of really helpful articles with new ones being added all the time. I hope you found this week's webinar insightful and don't forget to tune in next Friday. Thank you.